Hi, everyone. Welcome to an episode of CRO Wisdom. I'm delighted today to have an industry expert, a dear friend, Matt Moog. Matt is the general manager of third-party risk management at OneTrust. Matt, welcome.
I appreciate that, Atul.
So, Matt, I know the audience always loves to hear about how does somebody get to a role in risk? So maybe take us back to, maybe how you started, like how did it even come about?
I have an interesting amount of coincidences that happen kind of across the entirety of my progression towards where I am today. Going all the way back to when I was in college, I interviewed in my junior year for a position at Anderson Consulting in 2001. You can imagine, for those of you who remembered Enron, and you can imagine the chaos that ensued. And I didn't get that summer internship because the company kind of fell apart. But I walked out of another interview my senior year. And as I walked out of the interview, I walked past the colleague that had interviewed me for the Anderson role. And they said, "Matt, we don't have you on our docket." I said, "Well, do you mind interviewing me later on?" And they said, "Well, we don't have any slots open, but we'll call you towards the end of the day and see if we can squeeze you." And I was actually at lacrosse practice and I got the call and I came down and interviewed in like a t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops in the interview room, and ended up progressing towards my career at EY. And then as I continued to progress at EY and do different things, and I always found it very fascinating to truly understand the business before risk, because risk is always put in the context of the business, right?
Yeah.
And I just found it fascinating to just understand capital markets, understand retail banking, understand insurance. How do they make money? How do the transactions flow? And I remember taking a fair amount of time, and my client at that time was Lehman Brothers, and we know what happened there. And I promise I don't leave a trail of chaos. But the failure of Lehman Brothers kind of forced me to redecide: do I want to still continue to do IT audit, or are there other things that I wanted to look at? So I looked at data management, I looked at risk and compliance. And I had an opportunity to do some business on third-party risk, which I knew nothing about, by the way, about 6 years into my career. And I actually just kind of took a swing at it. And they said, "Well, we're looking for a senior manager." I was a manager at the time. And I said, "Listen, I don't know anything about this, but I will guarantee you that I will find out everything possible about this." And that was kind of the beginning of me starting to understand what third-party risk was. And what I really enjoyed about it was enterprise risk outside the walls of the enterprise.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I can describe it. Is just, there were things around the mortgage crash that led into the CFPB and other regulatory requirements. So that mortgage industry became incredibly fascinating. Understanding how it related to things like insider trading, or other risk factors that maybe just extended out to brokers, or it's really any type of activity in financial services. And you initially it started to be a cyber thing, and then it was a resiliency thing, and then it was a compliance thing, and then it was an ESG thing, and that's a cloud thing. And the concepts with inside third-party risk just kept expanding, and I just found it fascinating. And I was, the person who was always willing to take time to just read about the next thing, and then have people on my team question me. And I didn't always know the answers, but I certainly grew and was able to continue to to learn and evolve. And I certainly don't know the answers today. I think we're still evolving. But it's just been a pleasure to work in this kind of a space. And I think risk management is always a gray area activity, and you just have to challenge yourself to be comfortable being uncomfortable in an environment like this.
So Matt, tell us a little bit about from E&Y to OneTrust, and kind of how your life is different today, or kind of, how would you describe the difference in those roles?
So EY, we come with the brand, you come with the team, like everything around me is set, the systems, the support networks, like any access to any client was easy. So you get used to being in a big firm for 2 decades, and then you leave that firm. The pleasurable thing is that at OneTrust, the culture's very similar. So like, that's kind of the reason I came over as well. And I think the opportunity to kind of build something that maybe doesn't even exist within the environment. We talk about that a lot with Supply Wisdom data,
Yeah.
uh, and kind of challenging how people are looking at how they do their job day in and day out. So, as I came over from EY, which was very relationship heavy, I mean, every single client that I had a personal relationship with, and I knew them kind of inside and out, their business. We had really good footprints at most of those clients. And then I come over into a velocity software business where I've got 2,400 clients, and, I really build kind of deep relationships with, 30 to 50 of them
Yeah.
on a regular basis. And it's a different flow. It's a different cadence of the relationship. And I think, my bringing the focus on the client and really, we're OneTrust, right? We do trust as a business. I think trust is a commodity. I think trust is earned. It can be easily lost.
Yeah.
And, being able to kind of do the right thing, make yourself available, have the right discussions, be okay with the uncomfortable discussion, solving problems. Those are kind of in my DNA from the previous 2 decades, and bringing that over, I think is really helped a lot of people understand that, it's not just selling a license. It's really developing a longer term relationship for the business.
As you think about the environment today, particularly from a third-party risk management perspective, what would be 2 or 3 things you absolutely want to make sure risk leaders are paying attention to?